Welcome to Red Sox Digest, the only show where pain, sarcasm, and a dash of hope collide nightly like a Trevor Story strikeout. We cover every loss, every meltdown, and yes, even the rare win, with brutally honest takes and zero front office fluff. Subscribe today at RedSoxDigest.com or risk being left out in the cold like a home game in April. And now, here's the crew at Red Sox Digest.
Good evening, sports fans, and welcome to another edition of Red Sox Digest. I am your host tonight, Jim Dalfino, and apparently also the guy trying to manage this podcast. And let me tell you, me running this thing is like Alex Core trying to run a bullpen. Too many moving parts, nobody's listening, and half the time I'm just pointing at random buttons, hoping it works out. Joining me tonight is Nick Face, the only guy who can pick a fight with a Blue Jays fan and a Mountie before the seventh inning stretch. Nick doesn't go to Canada for poutine or hockey. He goes there to yell at strangers in Section 104 about bullpen management. The man's like a Yelp review of Red Sox baseball. Loud, bitter, and guaranteed to ruin your meal. If Rogers Center had a customer service desk, Nick would already be banned from it. Also joining me tonight is Thayer Doyle, the guy who treats every Sox game like he's grading midterms. He's sitting there with a red pen circling every error. Spelling mistake, should have hit the cutoff man, incomplete sentence, Story forgot how to field again. Thayer doesn't just watch the game, he gives it back to you with notes in the margin and a giant "see me after class" written on the scoreboard. Let's get into it. Your Boston Red Sox are now 87-71, now only 3 games behind front-running Toronto. The Sox came out like they actually remembered the game started at first pitch and not after a Duncan run. Duran struck out to keep tradition alive, but Story singled, Bregman slapped one, and Yoshida doubled like he was trying to remind everyone he exists. Then Rob Refschneider's stunt double, Romy Gonzalez, laced a hit to plate 2 more. Add in Rafaela's single and a Lowe's fielder choice, and by the end of the inning, it was 3-0 Sox. Jays fans were already Googling Leafs preseason start date. Bottom 1, Springer flailed at strike 3, Clement doubled because someone had to, and Vlad Jr. grounded out like he was late for dinner. Kirk popped out, and that was Toronto's offense highlight reel for the next 6 innings. Garrett Crochet treated Toronto's lineup like it was a rehab assignment in A-ball. Santander struck out swinging like he'd never seen a bat before. Schneider hacked his way into a flyout, and Varsho managed a single, but that was like finding a loony in the parking lot. Technically nice, but it's not changing your life. By the 4th, Scherzer was out there throwing vintage pitches, which apparently now means meatballs that Yoshida hits into the second deck. Speaking of which, 5th inning, Yoshida goes deep, 4-0 Sox, just as I predicted on September 3rd, and I got the receipts. Jays fans responded with enthusiasm of someone realizing they have to call Rogers customer service. Every inning after that was copy and paste. Crochet sets them down. Sox add a little insurance. Repeat. Guerrero Jr. looked like he was swinging a pool noodle. Springer, groundouts like clockwork. Schneider basically auditioning for a beer league. In the 8th, Romy Gonzalez singled. Rafaela walked. Lowe struck out looking because of course he did. Then Narvaez unloaded a 3-run bomb. 7-0 Sox. Toronto's bullpen just stared into the middle of distance. By the 9th, it was all, will the Jays rally? It was how quickly can fans beat traffic? Crochet basically owned Toronto all night, tossing zeros like Oprah giving out cars. You get a donut, you get a donut, everyone gets a donut. Sox win, Toronto still can't hit, and Max Scherzer is probably looking on Zillow for retirement condos in Boca. And now it's time for Nick Face's Word of the Day.
And now it's time for Nick Face's Word of the Day.
I'm really happy about this Word of the Day because it rhymes with my last name, Face. Is it mace? No, I didn't need to spray anybody tonight. Is it race? No, I'm not going down that avenue tonight. It's ace. That's your ace. That's your Garrett Crochet, guys. That was an outstanding outing for him. 8 innings, 100 pitches, kept the ball in the ballpark. That was the biggest takeaway for me tonight. Location was on. He got his 98, 99 mile an hour fastball going. Tonight was everything that you could have ever imagined for in that trade on why we wanted Garrett Crochet here to be our ace pitcher. He was outstanding tonight, showed up exactly when you needed him, and showed Toronto that's how you actually put starting pitching out there to get the job done. I was thrilled with what we saw here tonight. You only had to use Peyton Tolley. We'll get into that debacle, I'm sure, later here on this show. But you have a true ace, and that man right there is one of the telltale reasons of why you have a chance to go to the postseason, because of Garrett Crochet and that arm of his. Outstanding work. Very happy for him, and he got that job done.
Yeah, absolutely. Even on short rest, an absolute, amazing outing tonight from Crochet. Nick Face's word of the day is powered by Tim Hortons Double Double, because nothing fuels an angry Red Sox rant like a Canadian coffee that tastes like watered down Dunkin' Donuts. Thayer, I'm going to turn it over to you. And what did you see tonight from Crochet?
Ground balls are democratic, baby. That's what it's all about. 100 pitches in 8 innings. He was working the zone. He threw, 69 out of 100 pitches for strikes. He was keeping his pitch count down. He was keeping the hitters off balance. And more importantly, he was just having them put the ball in play. He didn't have to work too hard. He just kept moving. It was really a joy to see. I think this was probably, I know he had some incredible outings against the Yankees, but this was, without a doubt, I think probably his best performance, because he understood what his job was. Go out and get the Blue Jays out. He didn't need to go out there and dominate people and throw the ball 100 miles an hour all the time. He cruised through this outing. He maintained his composure. It was perfect and exactly what they needed.
This reminded me of like a Pedro Martinez start where I always think about the Indians in the playoffs in '99, but when he came out of the bullpen, but I mean, he was masterful and he just had them off base. I know he only struck out 6, but you could just tell early on in that game, they were not going to hit him at all. It was just not going to happen. He was just too dominant. And to Nick's point, this is why you make that trade. And this is why you give him $170 million, because you want him to anchor that rotation for the next foreseeable future, 6-7 seasons. And to Nick's point again, if you make the playoffs and you go anywhere in the playoffs, it's going to be because of that. That's going to be it. And I'm telling you, you're going to get him maybe 3 times in a 7-game series. I know I'm forecasting, but I'm telling you right now, that's the guy I want that's going to pitch game 1, 4, and 7 if I have to go that deep. That was just a masterful performance. Nick.
His contract is the best bargain in baseball, even more so than Roman Anthony. His contract is a bargain. Make sure we understand that. That is, he could, if he was on the open market going into free agency right now, $400-500 million easy over 10 plus years, easy. This is a steal and a bargain. Kudos to the Red Sox. We don't give them much. We don't. But they locked him up and they got a slam dunk home run contract. They should be dancing in the street over him because he agreed to it.
Yeah, there's no way around that. I talked to Dave and Charlie, even before the season began, and even Thayer, I think you and I discussed him as well. And I was really concerned after the trade when they were not getting a contract done. And I had said to a lot of people, if he even goes through spring training unsigned, I said the value just goes up. And I said, if he isn't signed and he completes 1 full season with the Red Sox, you're going to be starting with a 4. You're going to be starting with a 4. The way that these contracts are going in the 3s, he would be starting with a 4. And right now, you're right. I mean, they basically stole him. I mean, to pay 170 for that right now, over the course of this career, just absolutely amazing. And the guy's only 25. We keep forgetting about that. We have this feeling like he's been around for a few years. He has not. This is really his first full year as a starter. So really interesting. I want to switch it over to an all-star and a future potential Hall of Famer in Max Scherzer, who looked like a shell of himself tonight. And I kind of picked that was really going to happen. Thayer, I'll start with you. Was the Blue Jays' decision to start Scherzer over, let's say, even say Barrios in this situation, was it the right decision?
Ultimately, it turns out not to be, but I think they are in a position where they have the luxury of trying to figure out who they have and what their available starters are going to be for the playoffs. Scherzer is a guy who has shown in the past that he's capable of great things when the pressure's on. They needed to see where he was physically and what his stuff was like. It turns out today it wasn't in the best shape that is possible. I think they probably now understand that when the chips are on the table, do they have somebody that they would rather go with in the playoffs? Maybe. Barrios possibly could fit in that. But I think this was a decision that they made simply to see what they had available. And unfortunately for the Blue Jays, and luckily for the Red Sox, he didn't have his best stuff. Does it mean it's over? Possibly. He's been doing this for a very long time. So unfortunately for him, this is probably the swan song.
Nick, I'll ask you the same question. Were the Blue Jays silly to start Scherzer in this game, or was it just part of this is this is who we have and this is who we're going with?
I think the Blue Jays were rolling the dice here to have Max Scherzer go back to his 10s, his 2015s, 2019. Max Scherzer, big game guy that can get the job done. Just ice in his veins that can motor down any team, and grind out a win. That is exactly what the Blue Jays were trying to do here. I can't fault them for it. It's just that Father Time is catching up here to Max Scherzer. And it's sad to see because this is, in my eyes, going to be a Hall of Famer. And it's sad to see him kind of go downhill the way that we saw here tonight. Now, he got hit. He got, what did he give up? Four or five runs? What was his total at the end of tonight?
4, I believe.
4. It's not the worst thing there. If Max Scherzer is your 3 or 4 guy heading into a playoff rotation, sign me up still, because at least the guy has the experience. I'm grateful that the Red Sox decided they wanted to swing the bat tonight. Most importantly, Masa Yoshida. We're going to get into him, but I'm still firing off calls to have him board the next plane back to Japan, and here he is. Lo and behold, Masa Yoshida getting the job done here. Can you believe it? I'll give the Joe Castiglione. Can you believe it? No, I can't. He finally wants to learn how to hit the ball. Great.
For years, I've talked about baseball contracts for pitchers and how, Thayer, you and I have had this conversation where I haven't found many guys that sign long-term deals as a starting pitcher where the entire contract works out start to finish. And we see this a lot with position players. We make fun of, the Padres, for example, that are going to have a 41-year-old Xander Bogaerts, or the Phillies, who are going to have a 41-year-old Trey Turner when it's all said and done. And how, you look at any number of these guys where Albert Pujols, where it's all about, well, we're giving them this money, hoping for a good 6 out of those 10 years, and whatever happens the last 4. Well, I've made the take that Max Scherzer's contract when he signed with the Nationals was probably the best start to finish. It was a 7-year, $210 million deal that started in 2015. And just to kind of give it into perspective, Max Scherzer for the Washington Nationals, he was there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He was there 6.5 seasons. and he won a total of 92 wins, 47 losses, a 280 ERA, started 189 games, had 11 complete games, 4 shutouts, and 2 Cy Youngs, a second place finish in Cy Young, and 2 third place finishes in Cy Young. His last year, when he was traded from Washington, he was 15-4 that year with a 246. Totally worth every penny that he gave them, the Washington Nationals, in that contract. And my point being is it's a very rare occurrence to see a pitcher, from start to finish, give you that production over the whole entire career.
Jim,
Moving along,
what it reminds you of, just before we leave this, it reminds you of when Pedro Martinez was just about done. When the Phillies wanted to take a chance in 2009, roll it back to see if they could win another World Series from that.
Right.
And Pedro obviously wasn't Pedro. He was done. He still was decent and did what he could, but this is kind of where you're at. It's pretty identical to where Scherzer is now, to where Pedro was on that very end of that career.
Yeah. Switching a little bit to Romy Gonzalez. Very impressive game from him again tonight. I've been really pleased with the defense that we're seeing out of him at second base. He had that one play on Vladdy. He looked like Dustin Pedroia there.
I have to laugh. The play he made today was outstanding. I think from a defensive standpoint, he's very athletic and he's got the hands, and that was an amazing play. But yesterday at this time, to reference Romy as Dustin Pedroia after that play going to second base, like, oh my God. So I think he has flashes of brilliance. He's very capable of it. But like everything else, it's the consistency factor. He can go out there and he can put on a week to 2 weeks of incredible offensive performances, a week to 2 weeks of incredible defensive performances. But the reason he is sort of with us and not like we've sort of talked about, he should be the star of the Chicago White Sox. The reason he's not the star of the Chicago White Sox is they saw that he wasn't capable of doing it consistently. And they were in a position where they needed some consistency. I don't know why they got rid of him. Who knows? Maybe he just got to a place where he's comfortable. But Romy is an inconsistent player who has flashes of brilliance. That play today, outstanding, phenomenal. What we saw for like the last month or so, he was carrying this team with Refsnyder offensively. And we talked today when we sort of, we're thinking of what's the playoffs going to look like? Do we want to face the left-handed dominant Yankees, or do we want to face the right-handed dominant Blue Jays? We were some back and forth. Well, we have Romy. What are we looking for? And that's sort of that piece of he is so capable of doing these incredible things on an inconsistent basis. It's not night to night. And that's really the difference. Sometimes you have to question the mental capacity when the heat is on. Like yesterday's game was a very intense game and stressful. And that play was just flat out stupid. And I'm glad it didn't come back to bite him. And today he stepped up and did what he needed to do. So again, tribute to Romy. Congratulations. Thank you for all you're doing for the team. But we have to keep it into perspective.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, yesterday was just a bonehead move. He should have just thrown it to first. But that's what happens when you're moved around a lot and you really don't have a position.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you are going to get flashes, like you said, flashes of brilliance one day and then shake your head the next. Speaking about shaking heads, I want to open this up with Nick. Nick's favorite player on the Boston Red Sox is Jarren Duran. Everyone knows that. And
I thought it was Hamilton.
No, that's his second favorite player.
Don't put him back in my box tonight. I will leave. And I'll never come back home.
You're getting shifted. Jarren Duran, 0 for 9. He had 75 strikeouts in the first 2 games. No, seriously, 5, which is really Nick, he just really baffles me. I mean, he could carry an offense one series and then he could check out like he's still in the airport in the next. Take me through Jarren Duran, what you've seen.
I've seen enough. I'll tell you that. I'm done. I've said this every show in the past month. I've been done. He shouldn't be here, but he still is. This should have been a trade piece from the offseason, and you stuck it out, and this is what you get. It wasn't going to be realistic for Duran to put up the numbers that he did last season. It wasn't. And we should have sold high on it, and we did not do that. Then the trade deadline comes, and we got to keep him. And I kept going back and forth. I'm going to be completely honest with you, because I thought that he could be an igniter. I'm going to say that again, igniter of the offense. Well, I don't see any flame, guys. I don't. Keep going. Maybe I'll rub two sticks together. Let me try that again. Nope. I don't got anything there, which means he has not done diddly squat this second half of the season. He really hasn't. And it's at the point now where I'm clamoring for Rob Refsnyder to play over him. I don't care. I don't care if Refsnyder doesn't hit as great against right-handers. I'll take it, because right now that is a useless baseball player. Useless. I can make my team better and more productive without him in the lineup. I don't want to be harsh. I don't want to be cruel. I know the guy has feelings. I know he's going through a lot. I understand that. But when it comes to results and where you're at right now, it is going to come back and bite you if you somehow miraculously get to the wild card game and get to the next round. And lo and behold, we'll see him come up in some big spot. Whoop, 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 whoop. One more time. 5 strikeouts in a row. Yeah. That's what you'll see. Now, I will say, I've looked at his stance, I've looked at his swing to see kind of what's been going on more so in the past week and trying to break it down here a little bit. I am not a Major League Baseball hitting coach, but I at least can know 2 and 2 when you have a drastic hitch in your stance. I'm a left-handed hitter myself. I went through this when I was in high school, and in Little League and Babe Ruth all through my career. It's all about where your hands are. He's dropping way too much, which means he has a hitch in his swing. The hitch is triggering him to be all over the place whenever he's trying to hit a ball. That means that when he's dropping his hands, that means that everything is also all discombobulated and all over the place for him. So why Fatsy and the rest of the team aren't able to break this down step by step for him to identify the issues that's going on is questioning what is really happening here on the coaching staff. The coaching staff should be having him in a cage, pulling him aside, videoing it, looking at it, and replaying it until the guy understands with the swing. And for some reason, we haven't been able to see any of that. I don't get it. I don't know why they're doing that. He needs to put himself back in the box. He needs to get himself adjusted and get his friggin' head on straight, because it's going to kill this team.
Nick, have you looked at any of his at-bats, comparing them from last year when he had such a great season? Because I do know what you're talking about with him dropping his hands right before the pitch is thrown, and it seems a little bit different to me than last year.
It's the biggest. It's like a herky-jerky motion. I think that's the best way of describing it. And before, he had his hands much higher up when he's in the box. And for whatever reason, I think that was like his set. That's his set position. And then everything now is hitch, whoop, 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 up, strike 3. He's got to get rid of this. Get your hands up, load up, crush it, follow through. That's what you got to do. And for some reason, he's not doing that approach. I'm reminding myself all the time when I'm coaching or when I'm playing, I have this approach in my mindset because my coach always said, keep your hands up. You're dropping your hands. Keep them up. And then follow through and rip it. And for some reason, that's always kind of got to me or it clicked to me. For some reason with Duran, it doesn't click. So you got to pull him aside. You got to sit him down. You got to tell him to cut the crap with the swing and fix it. But that's not what they do on this team. They don't. They don't scold their players. They don't put them in a corner. They don't tell them, this is what you're going to do. You're going to sit out. Something's got to change, and it just doesn't. So you're hearing it from me. That's how I would fix it. I'm not a major league coach. I'm just going by what I have done in my lifetime and from my experience from listening to my coaches. Listen, dear Jaren, we're trying to help you. Listen to us.
Thayer, what are you seeing with Duran?
He's pressing. We mentioned it. I know we talked about when we were playing the A's, or was it the Rays game, and he hit the big home run, and we were all excited about it. And my first instinct was, oh no, we're in trouble, because he's going to become pull happy again. And he's going to start crying to crush everything, and that is ultimately his biggest flaw. He is most successful when he lets the pitches get deep and he drives through the baseball up the middle the other way. Nick, you're right. His positioning, he's always been someone that has tinkered with it. When he originally came up, his hands were very low and struggled that first year. They went back to the minors. They came back. His hands started higher. The piece with that, it's really your set position is really where you get loaded. That really matters from the hitting standpoint.
That's the word, load.
Yep. And when you get back there, most hitters, whether you look at the craziness of Julio Franco and where you start isn't so important. It's when you start moving forward, when you start your progress. And his problem is he's not getting his hands as high as he needs to get them. And he's still starting to drop it because he's getting into his mind that and I think this is probably a lot of it. And it sort of is a testament to who he is. It's that emotional individual, which has probably made him so successful in everything he does, is that he takes a lot of the onus on the team doing well upon himself. So losing Devers, I think, has really been part of that. We saw it when Devers went, he struggled because he was trying to do too much. And Anthony came. And when Anthony was successful, Duran didn't feel like he needed to carry the team. So he was able to kind of get back into that calm and sort of patient mode. And now that Anthony's hurt again, he feels, especially with the Abreu going, he feels he needs to do everything again. And that is a struggle for him, I think, emotionally. And he's pressing everything he's trying to do. You see it with every swing he takes. No matter what the count, no matter what the situation, he's trying to hit a grand slam on every pitch, no matter if there's anybody on base or not. And that is ultimately what his biggest problem is. He can't stay within himself. And that's the mental part of this game.
Yeah. Look, we all want Duran to do well. No one here is really trying to poke fun at him or want him traded for reasons outside of performance. It's a performance-based sport, just as every one of them is. And if you're not producing adequately enough for your team, then you either have to be traded or not signed or, some things of the like. So, the problem with, the biggest issue with Jarren Duran is swinging pitches outside the strike zone. And again, this is why you're seeing a guy with a very low on base percentage that is a speedster and uses his legs as part of the reason for his success. And as a result, his OPS suffers, his on base suffers, and so forth. So his batting average is suffering. He's just not a prototypical leadoff guy. But, to your point, I think a lot of that is pressure that he puts on himself. And he feels like he's got to do more. Whether he's still in this I've got to prove it to everybody mode, or he's got to prove it to himself. I don't know what those issues are. And it could be, again, all, above his eyes. I don't know. We all know he's got some, mental health related issues. I don't know if he's pressing too hard, then to Nick's point, they've got to get better coaching for him to be able to try to unlock the Jarren Duran that we saw last year. Because look, we're going to need him if we plan to go further than the first round in this playoff scenario. And look, I rule out nothing. Anything can happen at any time. Look at the Colorado Rockies in '07. I know they didn't do well in the playoffs. I mean, they did, but they didn't do well all season and then just turned it on. So the point I'm trying to say is that anything can happen at any time to any team. You never know when an injury could happen. I mean, look at today. Barrios was shaking his wrist. We don't know what that's going to lead up to. The Blue Jays could be in trouble here. They don't have if Barrios is hurt, Scherzer is a shell of himself. Gosman we were able to handle. Bassett, we don't know what his situation is and so forth. So it could be interesting. Anything can happen to anybody at any time. So hopefully it changes for him.
Jarren Duran would be a perfect Pittsburgh Pirate, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Thayer and I were talking about this today at lunchtime, and we brought up an idea, and it's just something to put out there because San Diego is obviously looking for a player. But he and I were discussing, what team is going to look for Jarren Duran as a acquisition piece. And because he's got just a couple seasons left and he's not signed long term, and the Red Sox are pretty much not going to sign him long term. They're going to go year to year with him. He's going to be arbitration eligible at the end of the year. So he's going to start making some money. And the reality is that no team that is in a rebuild mode, your White Sox, Minnesota Twins, teams like that are not going to be looking for that. It's going to be a team maybe like San Diego, maybe the Reds, something like that could use another bat in that lineup. We threw around the idea of doing a swap of Arise for Jarren Duran. I mean, get him out of there, put him on our lineup. Who knows? Arise is a good hitter. He makes contact, doesn't strike out. I'm sure San Diego would be interested in moving that, but it's more of a discussion for later on. Right now, I'd rather have Jarren Duran be the World Series MVP because if he is, you know what that means.
Oh dear God!
Well,
what did you drink? What did you drink tonight?
No. You're not listening. I would listen to me. If he's the World Series MVP, that means we won. That's what I'm trying.
I know it is. It's the matter of getting there. That's the point.
That's why I'm saying I would love to be able to see him as a World Series MVP.
Optimistic Jim.
Yeah,
that's what
never happened. Time for Dugout Dipshits.
And now it's time for everyone's favorite segment, the Dugout Dipshits.
And Dugout Dipshits is brought to you by Canadian Geese. They're loud, they're aggressive, and constantly pooping on everything around them. It's basically
over Tim Hortons.
Basically the same thing as a night out in Toronto. In any event, I do not have a Dugout Dipshit for tonight, so I'm going to open the floor. Thayer, I'll start with you. Who's your Dugout Dipshit tonight?
Gotta say, there's really, none that I can think of other than I was listening to this game a lot. And as I'm listening to it, Will Fleming's drinking the Kool-Aid. Suddenly he's talking about how fantastic the team is. And I got to say, these two games, I'm astounded at how well they've played for the most part. And granted, yesterday wasn't the most elegantly played game that they've had so far, but the fact that they're hitting in sort of spots where they haven't in the past, they're not squandering opportunities. The pitching has really been good. I'm impressed. But to kind of get this idea of, this is the team that's going to roll and, the Blue Jays have to be careful. The Sox are coming close to them. Let's temper it. I have to say, last time I was on, I did not give them a very good chance of making the playoffs. I didn't think they were going to. I thought for certain we were going to get swept by Toronto, that they were just going to feed us our lunch, and they haven't. And I'm shocked. I'm impressed at how well they've done. I think it's important. They are now in a situation where, as we were talking today, from a short series standpoint, when they play their best, the Red Sox are one of the more dangerous teams in the American League. They don't have the firepower that some of the other teams do, but when it comes to winning time, when you have Crochet to start, and then you have Whitlock and Chapman to end it, there's a very high possibility of the Red Sox doing well. And they have athleticism, and we talked about they have some power where maybe you can do some things. You don't have a lot of guys that are going to scare you, but I getting back to the dugout dipshit thing, maybe Fleming, but only from the standpoint of let's not go too crazy with this team. Let's stay within ourselves. I understand that you want to get sort of excited, but Fleming's always like that. He, everyone's a great ball player in his eyes, and he's a very glasses half full kind of guy. So that's about the extent I would go to.
Nick, your dugout dipshit for tonight.
Remember that legendary show back in the day on ESPN, Around the Horn? Remember that show? Jim, can you hit that buzzer like 50 or 100 times just to satisfy me right now? Because my dugout dipshit tonight is going to be the best one that we've ever had on this show. Point blank. Are you ready? Your dugout dipshit tonight is Alejandro Kirk of the Blue Jays.
Good one.
For getting his sorry butt thrown out to end the game from a throw from right field to first base. That is how the Blue Jays lost their game tonight. How embarrassing. He should be benched tomorrow for not hustling down the line and getting embarrassed on national television in front of his fans at the Rogers Center for that stupidity. What an absolute clown.
Yeah.
That's funny, Nick, because I have this written down, but I don't have it as Kirk is I wrote it down as I'm now, and this is probably the pessimist in me. Oh my God, Abreu just spit in the face of the baseball gods. The fact that he went and did that to embarrass somebody, I'm like, oh God, man, we were winning. Right now, I think there's no chance we win tomorrow simply because he basically kicked the dog that was sleeping. What are you doing? We had the Blue Jays down, and now we had them. Now okay.
He didn't pick the cup of the carpenter.
Like, oh,
I can't believe that's how the game ended. That was stunning. Yep. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that to end a baseball game on something like that. A hard hit ball. We've seen that. Yeah, that's true.
I think that was a little worse.
That was worse. That's true. I will give you the point for that. We'll give you some points for that. Series. Colton Wong. It was Game 5, I believe, to head back to Fenway. But that was just so incredibly embarrassing tonight to have to see that. So, Alejandro Kirk, you dugout dipshit, you.
Moving right along to player of the game. Player of the game is Masa Yoshida. And I don't want to say I told you so, but I did tell you so. On September 3rd, I put out a tweet that I said I have complete and utter confidence that Masa Yoshida will take us to the promised land.
You don't get to take credit for sarcasm.
Oh, okay. Well, see, if it didn't happen, it was sarcasm. If it did happen, it was
Put Yoshida in your box. You're the one that has you the one with the love affair, not me. Get Steve Urkel out of my box.
Can I do that?
Cheese.
2 for 5 with a home run. Masataka Yoshi Masa Mania is running wild in Toronto. Gotta love it. Checking out Steve. So there you go. Steve is trolling you, Nick. Give Masa some love.
Go watch Family Matters, Steve.
Hugs and kisses for Nick. Time for Wild Card Watch.
And now it's time for the Wild Card Watch.
And Wildcard Watch is fueled by Niagara Falls souvenir shops. It's overpriced, watered down, and no one really wants that shit in the first place. Here is the updated wildcard standings as it is 10:28 p.m. Right now, Houston is in the bottom of the second with the Athletics. There is no score. And the Yankees 90 and 68. The Red Sox 87-71. We are up 2. The Tigers,
They lost tonight.
they
just
lost
so you know.
to Cleveland 5-1, which is exactly what I think needed to happen. I brought this up on the show yesterday. I questioned Nick Diamond on it. I said, whoever wins game 1, you just want them to sweep now. And that's exactly what we need to do. So we're +2 with 4 games to go. So Detroit can only win 89 games. And they've lost 8. And in Houston, obviously, is going to be a big one. So our magic number, Nick?
Jerry Remy.
Jerry Remy, 2.
We're number 2.
Okay. Thayer, take me through the next 4 games with this wild card. What do you predict, and how do you see it unfolding?
The way I see it, I think we're going to – Detroit is just incomparably collapsing. I think they're done. They threw Skubal the other day. I think that hit by pitch just sent him sort of on tilt. I don't know if he's going to be able to recover from that emotionally.
Yeah.
As a city, I kind of was listening to one of the Braves games the other day from the standpoint of, and they're in shock that any way they possibly can, they're finding ways to lose these games. And I don't know if they're going to be able to recover from this. It's very possible, if the Astros can ever get their game together, that the Tigers may not make the playoffs. And that's incredible considering that they had a 15-game lead a little earlier. But I'm going to say the Sox, I think the baseball gods are going to punish them tomorrow. They're going to lose tomorrow. I think then they're going to take at least 2 out of 3. They'll take 2 out of 3 from Detroit just to get what they need to get and then get out of Dodge. Because I think they'll probably have it clinched probably by the first game of the Detroit series.
Nick, same question to you. How do you see the rest of this wild card playoff run finish off? What are your thoughts?
Tonight changed my feelings a little bit. I said that off camera to Jim before even Thayer came in. I think that tomorrow will probably be a loss for the Sox, just because they stink at, if you win 2 in their getaway game, it's usually the throwaway one. But when you also have the Tigers coming here to town, here's a team that's been down in the dumps. They're going to be 1-10 in their last 11 now, heading into tomorrow's game. Can that continue to last? That's what gets me a little nervous here about entering into this weekend series. I told you it was going to come down to stink and stink. I think the Red Sox are a little less stinky right now than the Tigers. They'll probably have to space Skubal at some point. I don't know when, but Detroit's on desperate times, call for desperate measures. So they're going to have to pretty much give everything they've got to find a spot here. And then we got to factor in what Houston does. I don't expect Houston to lose or get swept by the A's. I know they're playing tonight, and then they have another game tomorrow. So let's say Houston at least takes 1 game. That means they're going to probably have to win out to have a chance here. So the Red Sox chances right now are much better tonight than they were last night. That I can tell you in confidence. It's the matter of, can we squeeze out another victory here tomorrow? And if you do, I will safely say tomorrow on the show that you will go to the playoffs. I can say that. I will tell you that tomorrow. But right now, I'm still trying to figure out what's going to go down with Houston? That's one thing. And then what's going to happen with the Tigers? Are they going to keep collapsing and finish the season one for their last, what would it be, 15 or something like that? That's wild. Wild.
The Tigers are 20 what did I just say, 25 and 36 in the second half, something like that. I just counted really quickly. I could be off, but
That's terrible.
it's really, really bad in the second half. If you just look at their thing, I try to count it quickly, but it's really, really bad. And some of their losses are brutal. I mean, they got swept by the A's and stuff like that. So, I don't know. I don't know if they can come back with that. Here's the other question. It's like, who do you want to face? Do you want the Tigers to be in there? Do you want the Houston Astros to be in there? I mean, obviously, it doesn't really affect us immediately, but it's just something to consider down the road to who's the better team to beat at this point. So, that's a question in and of itself. So, the other thing too, which I find really interesting, I know you said that both you guys think that they'll lose tomorrow. I'm going to go against the grain yet again, Mr. Optimistic here, and I say that they're going to sweep tomorrow. And the reason why is because initially it was supposed to be Bieber. Now it looks like they're going with a bullpen game. I'm not quite sure that the Blue Jays even give a rat's behind right now. I don't know. I just something
You're right.
something just tells me, with the Scherzer start and everything, I'm not seeing a sense of urgency out of Schneider and the Blue Jays. So I could be wrong, but you're going with a bullpen game at this stage. It's a little. If I were a Blue Jays fan, I'd be like totally, I'd be so ticked off right now. I'd be like screaming in the streets if I were them. Another side note here too. As far as the Detroit series against us is concerned, they have not announced any starter. According to ESPN.com, there is no projected starter right now in that series against us. And as far
They
as
forfeit, we win.
yeah, and as far as the Friday night game, which is going to be on Apple TV Plus, and I commented on this, I think last week's show or right after the last time. I thought we were done with them, but lo and behold, here we go again. Apple freaking TV, right when it matters the most. We don't have a starter for that Friday game listed right now. So, look, what I care about at this point is if we can manage. Alex Cora needs to manage and play tomorrow's game as if that was the game to decide whether you were in or not, because I just want the potential for him to be able to take the foot off the gas in that Detroit series if he can. So in other words, if we are, if it's a matter of the second or third wild card and we feel it's better to set up your rotation than have to worry about having somebody go in game 3 of that Detroit series, then so be it. Take the third wild card, set up your starting rotation the way you want it for that playoff. But you would have that luxury of maybe doing a bullpen game on Sunday and not having Giolito or whatever it might be. And this way here, you can set everything up the way you want. Play your Ref Schneiders, play, Nick Sogard, whatever you want to do, and make sure everybody's ready to go. That's what I would like. I'd hate to lose tomorrow and just make any of these Detroit games feel like there's some sort of sense of urgency. So you win tomorrow, you get a Houston loss, it's over. You're in, you get the playoff berth, and then, you can do whatever you want with that Tigers series. So any closing remarks other than what we discussed from either Thayer or Nick?
I think that's it. Other than still worried about that tie-breaking situation. So winning tomorrow, I think, is clutch. It's important to win tomorrow. But this idea of sort of locking it up, if Houston wins these next 2 games, Houston's going to stay 3 games back of us. So actually, they're 2 now. So if we get a Houston loss tonight, that'll sit them at 3. But if they win tomorrow, and if they sit at 3, if we get swept by the Tigers, they sweep the Angels, and the Tigers that would have swept us right now. The Tigers, let's say, they're going to be 2. They could jump us, even if the Tigers lose. So that game tomorrow, I agree, is clutch and important. And then 1 game in Toronto. 2 wins and we're in is how I think I see it. And let's just go get them. Let's not worry about other teams losing. Just handle their business tomorrow.
And they need to. Being a bullpen game, don't take your foot off the gas, Alex Cora. Manage it like it's game 7, please. Nick, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
I would love to be wrong on my prediction with them losing tomorrow. If they're able to take the series from the Jays, I never expected that. I have to say, Jim, I am very. If I was a Blue Jays fan right now, much like with you, I would be pissed at what the direction is this team is going. We didn't get a chance to talk about it, but Jose Barrios going to the bullpen, that's definitely an interesting choice, especially after what you saw from Scherzer and everything, and he's not happy about it whatsoever. So I think they have a couple players there that care about more so personal accolades, truthfully, instead of being a good teammate and doing what the team needs within their best interest. I really do. And I think that you could chalk it up to Vlad Guerrero. I think you can chalk that up to Bichette. Down the line, it's one of the Achilles heel of the Blue Jays over the years is that when they get to the promised land, they can never finish and get the result of getting to that next series, like a championship series or a World Series. They can fool around in the regular season, maybe get a division series, depending upon what they've got. But this is not the Joe Carter Blue Jays. It is not. This team is, without question, more so looking out than looking in to a playoff series.
Yeah, I look, I agree with you 100% on that. Just the one thing that, everybody has to take into perspective as we stand and close tonight, the Toronto Blue Jays and the New York Yankees are tied for the first the division lead here. However people thought that this was going to play out, oh, we're going to Yankee Stadium or we want the Yankees to come to Boston. You don't know who the hell you're playing yet. You've got 4 games in the season left, and you really have no idea who you're playing. 0. So, we could go to Toronto. We could go to Yankee Stadium. The one thing I will tell you, being 3 behind in the wild card to the Yankees and Toronto, and 3 out in the standings, I don't see a path for them to be the number 1 wild card. That is what I will tell you. And now it's just a matter of, does really being the second or third wild card really matter? And right now it's hard to even predict because you don't know who you're going to face. That's the reality there. So that being said, I'm going to wrap up tonight's show, thanking Thayer and Nick for being on with us tonight. If you don't have a subscription to our newsletter, please visit redsoxdigest.com. We have some articles every day wrapping up the season each and every night and every game. And then also, too, we'll have our grading system after the season's over. We will be with you tomorrow night after the game to wrap up the Jays series and to preview the series with the Tigers. I'd like to thank everybody for listening and watching, and have a great night. We'll talk to you tomorrow.